Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by MiloTree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the show. I was thinking today about what is making me happy, and I have to tell you that it is the training, the live training I am going to do on December 13th. It is really jazzing me up. So I'm doing a live training on how to pick a topic for your paid workshop and how to set up a sales page. And this one's going to be a lot more hands-on because you will leave with 3 topics, 3 ideas, and you will learn how to set up a super fast sales page in MiloTree Easy Payments. All I want to do is help you monetize in 2022. And I feel like I have found this way, and it's all about coming up with an idea and testing it quickly, seeing where you get traction. That's what we're going to talk about at the workshop. It's $10 to sign up. There are 2 ways you could do it. 1, just email me at jillian@milotree.com and I will send you a link. Just say, please send the link, and I'll send it to you to sign up. Or you could, there are going to be 3 ways. Message me on Instagram at MiloTree, or you could go to the URL workshop2.milotreecart.com. So I really want you to come, and I'm doing it before Christmas because I want you to be able to hit the ground running come 2022. In fact, I think you'll be able to set all of this up during the holidays, even with a crazy holiday schedule. That's how easy I think this will be, how straightforward. So again, email me, connect with me on Instagram, or go to workshop 2. This is the second workshop I'm doing, .milotreecart.com. And even if you came to the first workshop, definitely come to this one. Again, it's only $10. And if you didn't come to the first one, then this one will get you up to speed. I hope to see you there. For today's episode, I have my friend Neal Schaefer back on the show. This is his second appearance, and he's like a social media expert. He's really like a very talented digital marketer. And we talk about the role of social media today. Remember, social media is not the be-all, end-all. It's not the end game. It's just a piece of the way you grow your business. And I love that Neal talks about how it's really a way to connect with other people. But you have to know how all the pieces fit together. And I think Neal does such a great job of showing that. So without further delay, here is my interview with Neal Schaefer. Neal, welcome back to the show.
Jillian, I'm so excited and honored to be here on a second time.
Oh, so we were just reminiscing in the past about how like the world has shifted and conferences aren't happening as much. And so it's really nice to show up on Zoom and see a familiar face. And in fact, I led a workshop on setting up a workshop, paid workshop on setting up a paid workshop. And you were there. And it was so nice to see you that even in the middle of the workshop, I stopped it and said, Neal, will you come back on my podcast?
And I'm like, is my mic on? It was a weird moment. But no, Jillian, I really want to thank you because, when I was on your podcast earlier as a guest, I just come out with The Age of Influence, and I was doing sort of a podcast tour. And it was only about 6 months ago when it's like, I want to find, my favorite blogging podcast is called The Blogging Millionaire. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but everybody that tunes into, Blogger Genius should listen to it. But I'm like, I want a second blogger related podcast. And I was going through all these podcasts and Apple Podcasts, and they said they were about blogging, but they were all over the place. And they didn't really, they weren't really talking about blogging. And then the Blogger Genius. And I, got reintroduced to your podcast and realized that every episode is really actionable advice for bloggers. Obviously, a lot about blogging, but also about related things. So I want to thank you on behalf of all the listeners. Hopefully they're nodding their heads of helping educate, inspire, and most importantly, help us take action. Because we can talk about it. I definitely plan on taking action after going to that workshop as well.
Oh, Neal. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you so much. That means a lot in terms of the way that I think about the podcast. Gosh, it's the thing that I absolutely love the most in my business because I get to talk to experts like you, but also then hopefully I get to inspire others and I get to help people who really want to kind of take their fate in their own hands and like go do. So thank you. That really means a lot. And the thing that we were also talking about before I pressed record was this idea, like with MiloTree Easy Payments, my whole thing is use the platform to test and test more and test again, and to fail fast, because ultimately you don't know what's going to hit. And so you've got to have what I call lots of at bats to try different things.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm sure a lot of other people, because we're all podcast listeners, Pat Flynn, Will It Fly, right? And I mean, he outlines a really, really great process. Same idea, but if you already have the audience and you can do something like Easy Payments, and I literally, Jillian, from your workshop, hopefully you'll do it again for those that didn't attend. I literally took your presentation template and I'm creating my own workshop, and I'm going to put it up there, right? And I think that, there's a structured approach to take it, but there's also, I have this audience and I have the content in my head, and let me spend an hour a weekend to put it on paper in a PowerPoint, because I do this all the time. I can teach anyone in an hour, and I'm just going to get it out there and see how people resonate with it. And it's going to take, 90% of businesses fail, they say. What's the number? 80, 90?
Something like that. So yeah.
You need 10 at bats to get your one business that doesn't fail, or your one, content idea that doesn't fail. But I think we all need to do it. And with every iteration, we get better and better and get closer to that success.
Absolutely. And we get to hear what people say in real time. So I always say, hopefully you'll have a recording of your workshop, like go back and listen to it and listen to the questions, because when your audience talks to you, that is gold. People say to me all the time, people don't talk to me. My audience doesn't talk to me. I feel like it's crickets. So get in front of them and hear what they, ask them.
Yeah. And here's the thing. You can do survey after survey. Would you like if I did a workshop on this, this, and that? Or you can just do it, right? You'll have so many people say, oh, I'd love it if you have that workshop. But then when it comes down to actually publishing it, you find that a lot fewer people actually sign up for it. For instance, right? This is human nature. So instead of just asking, which is great, if you're totally an expert in something and you know that people tune into you for that, create something around that, which is obviously what you taught in your workshop as well.
Absolutely. And here's what I would say with MiloTree Easy Payments: set up a product like a workshop, give it a price. I recommend somewhere between like $10 and $30 for your first one. Create a sales page and then go try and sell it before you even create the content. Then see, do people want this? Like, do they want a workshop on Instagram? Like for you, Neal, as like a social media expert, do they want Instagram? Maybe they want LinkedIn. Maybe they want TikTok. Maybe they want a whole kind of perspective on how to sell stuff through social media. Like, who knows what it is? But I say, go create it, put it out, see if people will buy. They don't, okay, go create another sales page with another idea. So I'm just going to plug this, that I am doing a workshop, a second one, for people to go to a deeper dive into coming up with what a topic should be. And hopefully you'll come up with a variety of topics that you can then go test, because honestly, you will be surprised what hits and what doesn't.
Yeah, no, and there's no better way to test it than with a landing page. And there's no easier way to create it than, I'm not here like as an ambassador of Easy Payments, but it is just, the template's right there for you. The integrations are right there. And Jillian, I was telling you, I rode this like, got to create a membership sort of trend earlier this year. And it was not easy trying to put together a membership site. There were a lot of different pieces that I had to glue together that hopefully when people, check out Easy Payments, they'll appreciate the fact that it's been well thought out. And assuming you have one of the major, things like Stripe, which you should have anyway, because it's superior to PayPal. And then obviously MailChimp, ConvertKit, the major email providers that, it just seamlessly handles all that, so you don't have to, I know the whole objective is like, hey, don't worry about the technical stuff. We have you covered. I think it's a case of a product that truly does have you covered.
Oh, thank you. And our thinking is this, and we were talking about this too before I pressed record, that when you set up a membership, I think we get this feeling of like, oh my God, I have to over deliver when it comes to content. And the truth is, there are two ways in which I would say you do need to over deliver. One is to be available to your members. And I don't mean in terms of like they can call you at 10 o'clock at night. I mean, when you show up, that you're really present, that when, let's say, they put a question in the Facebook group, you're there to answer it and to help guide them. And two is to really be, I like to call it like the camp counselor, who's keeping everybody engaged, who's making sure that nobody feels left out, who knows, somebody specifically and knows what they're struggling with and can speak to that, but then creates this environment where everybody feels comfortable and like they are a community. So I think it's really about you being accessible and available and the community that you create. And everything else is gravy.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And yeah, if you just let things go on its own, you're going to find a dwindling community. So you do have to be outside of making yourself available. You do have to be proactive. I have started, in addition to, we do weekly Zooms, I've started to do quarterly one-on-ones. Like, hey, I want to make sure that every quarter, because I know you can't make every Zoom. I want to make sure that, you have a strategy for this next quarter. My background's B2B sales before all this. So I'm very much quarter to quarter. What's the strategy? How can the community help you? How can I help you? And I think that, it's an example of how you have to be that camp counselor. As you said, you got to be a little bit more proactive to make sure that everybody's a part of it if you really want to make it a success.
I love that idea, Neal. I really do. And that's like something that I like in the workshop, for example, that you came to and you took advantage of this. I said at the end, if you have an idea for a workshop, email it to me and I'll give you my feedback. Now, I don't necessarily know what the gods are going to say. Like, is this going to be a success or isn't it? But I've done this enough times and I've seen it from so many different people that I do have possible feedback. So I was so excited when people emailed me and said, here's what I'm thinking. And, what are your thoughts? And these are the 3 things I want to teach. And this is my big win. And that's what I talk about. And that I could go, because I'm fresh eyes. I have no vested interest. I'm not on the inside of your business. So right. I get to go, oh, what about this? Or is there a way to think about it more from your customer's perspective? Or like how to, massage it or whatever. And so I loved that you reached out to me and said, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think? So like just by being that extra set of eyes, one can create a lot of value.
And that was a great thing to offer to everybody. I'm glad that other people took advantage of that as well. And I hope everyone listening is going to be moved to some sort of action, right?
That's it. Because, and make it ugly. Like make it down and dirty. I talk a lot about this idea of B- work, which is above average, but it gets stuff done. Like I sent emails. I was just looking at this and it's kind of embarrassing, but like I send emails and there's probably one typo in every single email I send, but I send them.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, you know what? If somebody is pissed at me because I have typos, they're not my people. If they're getting caught in that, and they unsubscribe, you know what? It's a good parting of the ways. I want the people who go, I'm getting value and there's a typo and it's all right.
Yeah, totally. Life is just too short for little things like that. Your vibe attracts your tribe. If that vibe doesn't attract them, then they're not going to convert anyway. So
absolutely. So because you are this, I call you a social media expert. Will you just briefly, I feel like we've already started, but will you briefly just share your background in social media and why I call you a social media expert?
Well, I'm just someone that's focused on social media marketing for a little bit over a decade. So my background is, like I said, B2B, sales, biz dev, marketing. Actually, in Asia, I speak Japanese and Chinese, but that's a subject for a completely other podcast episode. But I started in a job search for the first time in the United States back in 2008, where I learned of a platform called LinkedIn, and I became very active in it. I realized how it could be used as a professional tool, not just for networking, but also for my sales job when I got my job. So the day I got this offer for this job, I launched a blog on WordPress.com, like your expert answers to your LinkedIn questions, not very branded. And that led to, we had a Lehman Brothers crash in late 2008. They pulled the plug in international sales. So once again, I was unemployed. And my wife says, Neal, you should consider writing a book. And I laughed at her. And then I realized that I already had 25% of the content for a book in my blog. Mm-hmm. So in 2009, I published my first book, Windmill Networking, Understanding, Leveraging, and Maximizing LinkedIn. And that really launched speaking, consulting, launched my consultancy in January 2010. And since then, I've published a few books. One more book on LinkedIn, one on social media marketing strategy called Maximize Your Social, and then one on influencer marketing, which is very much related to social media marketing. Obviously, last year called The Age of Influence. I teach social media marketing at a few universities. I consult, speak. I've spoken in social media marketing world every year. Hopefully they'll have me back in 2022, knock on wood. Blog, podcast, the whole bit. So I tend to be very, opinionated about social media marketing because I see so many businesses and people just do it wrong and they don't use it for what it was intended for, which is really relationship building. And therefore, Jillian, when you called me out in your workshop, it's like, yeah, social media is not for promotion. It's for relationship building. It's possible to close business in social media, but it's more important to meet people and develop relationships that in the future might become business relationships, might become relationships where you get introduced to someone that becomes a business or what have you. But I think a lot of people just think I'll get 10,000 followers on Instagram and I'll become a millionaire. And it doesn't work that way. And Jillian, one thing that I want to leave people here with is that I am verified on Twitter, Facebook. I have like hundreds of thousands of followers in social media. I get 80% of my website traffic from Google.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah.
And this is why, even though people follow me for social media, I'm always talking about blogging and SEO. And that's what I love. I mean, every guest you have is saying the same thing. And it's just a no-brainer. And it's actually, in many ways, I find it easier to compete on Google than it is in social media. Believe it or not, for certain keywords. For certain things, we can talk about that.
Let's unpack this. We can go
now, but yeah.
Well, what I love, let's unpack this because I do think that so many people in my audience and kind of on the internet think it is all about, let's say, Instagram, right? Because Instagram's still kind of the shiny thing, although TikTok now is kind of, surpassing it or even more exciting. And then you see these influencers who supposedly have built these big businesses on Instagram or TikTok. And I always question that because I think that people are getting good feelings from having lots of big followers, but it's not necessarily translating into dollars. So, of course, there are the Kim Kardashians of the world, and there are those influencers that are making millions of dollars. But the truth of the matter is your business building does not stop at the social media piece of it. Like we were talking about this, that's like top of your funnel. That is getting people to know, like, and trust you, getting people to like somebody's like, I'm interested in, I don't know, like baseball and somebody else is interested in baseball and I'm interested in the Mets and they're interested in the Mets. Oh my God. Wow. We have this thing that, by the way, I don't know anything about the Mets, but just that like we have this commonality. Hey, there's like this relationship, but then it's about nurturing this person and showing up again and providing more value. But then it's about trying to get this person on your email list. Because that's where you really build the relationship. And then it's about figuring out what you can offer to this person that would make their life better and will make money for you. Now, how do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, social media is a part of the picture, but so is blogging/SEO, and so is email. And they all play their unique roles, right? I think once you have some authority in what you do, having a social media outlet is incredibly beneficial to cement that relationship where people are spending their time all the time. But if I have a business and I know if somebody puts in a certain keyword that they have an intent of looking for a product or service related to that, and I can get them to my website, then that's sort of how it works. Right. And what's really interesting, Jillian, what I found with my own sort of SEO strategies and techniques and such, let's say, I wrote a book on influencer marketing. So I target influencer marketing related keywords. There are hundreds of influencer marketing agencies, influencer marketing tools, influencer marketplaces that compete for the same keywords, but they only want to bring people back to their website. They don't have blog content. They're not offering resourceful content. It's all about them. And what I'm finding is Google's getting really smart at saying, why are we giving a top 10 result to just a company trying to bring people to the landing page when all this other content that's unbiased, right, that doesn't mention this product with every other paragraph, is offering more value to the searcher. And that's how I found that I've been able to outcompete a lot of these companies for certain terms, for instance, related to influencer marketing. Now, if you're going after Coca-Cola and Pepsi talking about cola, I'm not going to promise you those results. But I do think with the way that businesses treat SEO and blogging, that there's plenty of opportunities for us to get really good rankings by providing really resourceful content that these other businesses can't or won't do.
I think that is so smart. In fact, I was talking to a guy who runs an ad agency today, and we were talking about like a variety of things, but like MiloTree Easy Payments. And his thing is for me that I need to be just blogging much more about the solution, because that's where people who are searching for how to start a membership or how to do a paid workshop or whatever end up on my blog and go, oh, and the fact that it isn't just sign up, sign up, sign up. Like I love, in fact, I was doing some research today, and it was like, I landed on a company's website, and they said, here are some resources. We might not be the best solution for you. So if you're looking for this and this, you need a Shopify store, not us. If you're looking for this and this, you need, I don't know, SendOwl. And then it was, if you're looking for this, this, and this, we can do that for you, and we can do it great. And I was like, wow, I don't know, it felt like really interesting to me. It wasn't just sell, 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 like, we're everything. It was so, I don't know, it felt useful. And I thought, I want to do a post like that.
Yeah. It's funny. I have a lot of businesses that reach out. They want to become part of my blog, right? They want me to like write a review of the product. I'm like, reviews are not going to do well because the minute someone sees a review, they know it's been influenced, right? But if I was to blog about how this tool solved this problem, like one of my best performing blog posts about how a tool can help you find fake followers on Instagram or who has fake followers, right? That solves a problem. And that sort of resourceful information, if you show screenshots of a tool that helps give you that answer, is a recipe for a perfect post. So not every business is very savvy about this. And that's what gives us, those that are savvy and intelligent about it, that gives us, I believe, an advantage. And I tell people, just go into the search results. If you think you can write better content, if you think the content's outdated, or you're like, why the heck is this in the top 10? Go out there and blog. You can beat them, right? If you do it strategically.
Absolutely. It's so funny. And I'm going to say this, which is in our membership group, somebody said, oh no, like, is it, because my membership group is predominantly women, that she's like, is it okay to go after somebody else's keywords? And I'm like, yes, it is okay. In fact, it's a good strategy because you see who your competition is and you see how you can improve the post. So use that information. Like, don't think that this isn't playing nice on the internet. This is the way. And by the way, it is about then providing the best value to somebody who has a problem and you can solve it.
Yeah, I did a podcast episode several years ago about how it's a war.
Yes.
SEO, it's a battlefield, and it's always changing, always shifting. And you're going to get up against some big countries that have a lot of resources, but you have a unique value. And Jillian, when I wrote The Age of Influence, what I realized was that people can outperform brands because we connect with other people, right? Emotionally. We're not a logo, we're a person. And social media, gives us a great way to humanize ourselves in a way that businesses can't, as does our blog and our website. And we should definitely take advantage of that. Even if it means, as you say, doing B- work or having a typo on your website, that's okay because humans do that, right?
I am taking a very quick break to tell you about the MiloTree pop-up app, which is the first piece of technology David and I built, and you've probably seen it on a whole host of food blogs and craft blogs on the internet. It is a pop-up app that you install on your blog, and it pops up and asks people to follow you on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, YouTube, join your list, and if you have traffic, it will work, and it grows the best kinds of followers and subscribers. So head to MiloTree.com, sign up. You get your first 30 days free. It is worth a try. And remember, it will not slow down your site one bit. And now back to the show. Let's talk about trends you predict or see coming into 2022. Where are people? Where are the best places to build relationships? Where's the best place to get traction or to get yourself out there? What are you seeing in the landscape?
Well, we've known it's always been about video, but these days it's really about, two different types of video. I'd say your educational video on YouTube, just as I think there's plenty of opportunity for bloggers, there's plenty of opportunities for YouTubers. And it's something that I've been trying to focus more and more on as well, with a similar strategy that I talk about blogging, but really applied to YouTube. I think that there's a formula that a lot of YouTubers use. And I think if you consume a lot of YouTube video, you can sort of figure out that formula that's going to work best for you. But there's also with social media, the short form video. So it was really on your podcast where I found out about how Google Web Stories can have such incredible impact. I know that you were impressed by that as well, but also obviously, Pinterest idea pins, which sort of fall into that category, but then the entertaining, the TikTok, the Reels on Instagram and on Facebook. And Facebook is now heavily pushing Reels as well. So really, if you want to be seen, you have to be doing video. LinkedIn might be the only platform that you can still do social media the old way and be seen. But I do think with LinkedIn as well that, obviously the more video you can do, the better it can be. So obviously where you're going to get the most organic impressions today is TikTok/Instagram or LinkedIn, right? Facebook and Twitter for businesses is very, very hard. If you can adapt to this type of content. And I've, Jillian, I've spent the last month, I started creating my first Facebook Reels on my Facebook page as a way to experiment. And I'm trying to do more of it. I really love doing it, but I also know it's the format that the networks want because they know it brings people back for more and more people consume it. So I really think that's, and a lot of you may be on the sidelines, but I would just jump in and experiment and like YouTube videos, try to consume more of them. And, I found like I'm starting to do little tutorials. So I'll start with, I'll just shoot a video of myself, like 5 or 10 seconds introducing it. And then I'll just do a screenshot of me with the iPhone looking at my computer in the screenshot of showing what I'm doing. And then the last 5 seconds, I'll just, talk back in. And it's just 3 videos. And it actually isn't as time consuming as you might think. So,
what platform are you doing this for? Are these the Reels that you're doing on Facebook? Is this for your YouTube channel?
This is just Facebook. This is just Facebook. And my theory is if I can get impressions on my Facebook page using Reels, I've proved the theory that Reels, even on a platform that people say is dead, if you can, revive it through Reels, it shows you how much potential value they may have. So this is purely on my facebook.com/Neal Schaefer page is where I'm doing these, if you were curious.
And are you getting success? Are you seeing traction?
Well, I just started a few days ago. Well, I should say a week and a half ago. But for me, it's less about the traction and more of getting in the habit of doing these on a regular basis so that I can up my game and do them more regularly on other platforms over time. So I've yet to come to the conclusion. I am seeing more impressions than I do for my other like link-based posts that I normally publish there. But for me, it's more of like a exercise that I know I need to create this type of content and I'm going to start and I'm going to commit to start doing it. And from there, I'm going to expand once I get my style and I have some data behind it.
And do you think that when you are creating, let's say the Reels or TikToks, that it is about entertainment first? Is it about providing value? Like, is it a combination of being goofy in some, but also, let's say, teaching in others? How do you find that balance? And is it different for everybody?
Yeah, I think, YouTube and idea pins, Google Web Stories. Well, Google Web Stories may be a little bit different, but definitely idea pins and YouTube videos are definitely educational. I think with the emergence of TikTok, kids go through TikTok like we watch TV. It's become entertainment for them, right? So there is that entertainment aspect. But then like 2 weeks ago, I did a office hour for Rutgers Business School where I teach. And the teacher's assistant was, a guy in his 20s. And he was talking about this guy on TikTok who is basically a investor, but he teaches 20 somethings how to invest their money for people that don't know how to invest it. And it's all TikToks, right? And he responds when people ask questions, and he posts new TikToks about the questions. So I think that we're starting to see a new market open up, even on a TikTok. It's not just about dances, for educational content. And that's something that, I don't have the data, but I know that more and more people are doing it and finding success. And it's just doing the same thing you would be with a blog or with a YouTube video, but in a new format. It's shortened, maybe a little bit more raw, a little bit of entertainment. You can have some music in the background. You can try to take advantage of some of the latest, songs, but you don't have to. It could just be you speaking with background music, right? But I do think that the beauty of it is it's raw. It's not like you're using like Meet Edgar or something where, you have something pre-planned for a year and you're just publishing like link after link after link. It's you showing up in video in a very, very raw way, which is very, very different than like a YouTube video, which sometimes you see like in a studio. And I think that's what people, like you said, Jillian, people might find influencers like, it's almost too perfect, right? And we really crave the raw. And I think at the end of the day, that type of short form video does display the raw. And I think that we should celebrate our rawness because that's what's going to create that emotional tie with other people and ideally with our customers.
I love that. I think that is absolutely true. I think that humans want to see humans. I think that before, let's say 10, 15 years ago, we worshiped at the feet of the celebrity. And I have a 14-year-old daughter, as I've mentioned. And like to her, some girl sitting on her bed talking about what new makeup she bought at the mall is as engaging as whatever big superstar. Like there's no difference. And in fact, I think my daughter feels even more connected to some teen who's like in her bedroom, just being a teen versus something perfect. I think that we have these kind of BS detectors that we identify like, oh, that feels really fake. And we just want to have a more human experience.
And that was one of the main messages of when I wrote The Age of Influence it's that people are always going to outperform brands in social media because of that. And instead of looking at number of followers, look at actual content, look at actual engagement and relationships that these content creators have, because they're creating content better than brands can, right? Better than the agencies that represent brands can. And if I was a brand, I'd be thinking, how can I leverage these people to create all my content? Why do I have to, I'm sure you heard about Lush just a few days ago pulling out of social media. Now they said that social media is emotionally harming youth, which it probably is to some extent. I think we can agree, but it's also let people do the talking for us. We don't have to be present there. If it was never made for business, we can leverage 100% user generated content, which is my message to every brand. Now, for the bloggers that listen to the Blogger Genius, you may not be able to do that, but you may be able to leverage the voices of people who take your courses, who come to your website. I try to feature people in my mastermind community. 1 out of every 4 podcast episodes, I try to feature one of them, right? I want them to share their story. Indirectly, obviously, it helps promote the mastermind, but I'm also promoting them, right? And it's sort of like a win-win-win thing where the listener learns and I celebrate them and they feel good about it. So there are ways of celebrating those around us, that might have a little bit of influence. They might touch circles that we don't touch, that we don't intersect with, and therefore help promote us. And that's influencer marketing, right? Of being able to touch those outside networks that don't know about us through a trusted entity.
Now, when you talk about social media is for relationship building, what does that exactly mean? Meaning, I want to, let's say I'm a food blogger. Do I want to meet other food bloggers? Do I want to meet people who are creating my recipes? Like, what am I doing with that relationship?
Well, if I'm a food blogger, I think that there's, and like everybody else, there's a few different tiers of people that you could be meeting in social media for different objectives. Obviously, meeting with other food bloggers and getting to know them is a very, very good thing. There's a lot of ways you can collaborate together with other food bloggers in a variety of ways. If you have a podcast, you can invite them on. If you do, roundup posts, you can invite them for a quote, what have you. So you can almost think of other food bloggers as influencers, as they are. They all have their own unique communities, what have you. Then we have like your fans. Obviously, you want to celebrate your fans. You want to, there's an app that I often talk about. I don't know if it's still available. It was available in Japan. It was called Like Your Boss. And basically, it was a rogue app where you told the app who your boss was on Facebook, the profile URL. You had to be friends with them, but every time they posted, within 5 minutes, it would like their post, right? It was like this automation hack. But whenever I talk about it, people laugh. But that's it. You want to show up in the notification bubble of your fans as often as possible. You don't want to automate it, right? But you want to celebrate them. You want to let them know that you appreciate them and that you support them. And that's a huge thing you can do as far as those. And then you have, the people above the funnel. So people that might be consuming other people's recipes, or people that are cooking in the types of foods that you write recipes about. I would definitely connect with them and say, wow, that's a great idea. I might use that in my next blog post about this recipe. Can I source you as where I found out about this recipe? Can you provide me a photo that I can use in a blog post? I'll link back to you. Those are the sorts of things. It's all about being inclusive with all of your content and your presence with everyone around you. And social media gives you the ability to create and really promote those connections. So it's just a different way of thinking about it. Very, very hard for businesses to do because they're used to doing marketing the old way, but a lot easier for bloggers and solopreneurs to do because this whole we got a JV to be successful. Everybody I talk to, they're all about JV partnerships, promoting the program or creating a program, and that's what this is. It's to me, that's all influencer marketing. It's leveraging other people, your friends, your fans, influencers, potential customers who are, if they're on Instagram posting about recipes, they're a content creator at a minimum, right? They're one of the top few percent that are actually active in social media creating content, and they have influence. So it's really about making your presence as inclusive as possible and bringing as many people as you can into your sphere. And that's what social media allows you to do. Where you take it from there depends on, do you have a podcast, a blog, a YouTube, but you want to try to bring people in to all the content you create, if that makes sense.
I think that is one of the best explanations of the power of social media. I think in the beginning, it was a microphone, perceived as a microphone. I'm just going to, I have a new blog post. So guess what? I need to post it on Facebook. And then I did a pin on Pinterest and I put it on Twitter in some sort of scheduler. And it's like, I'm just yelling it out. And what you are saying is no. I mean, of course you do want to promote your content, but it's much more about, hey, I see somebody with a need. I have a blog post that might be useful for them. I'm going to send it to them.
Or I'm going to include them in my next blog post or revise it to include their recipe, even better, right? So,
yes. So,
it also goes back to an episode like you had with Jenny Melrose, where she was talking about Instagram stories. Now, every day she was just getting engagement from, polls and asking questions. And that's another thing you can do, right? Is to get feedback. It's an awesome platform to get feedback on.
Yes.
So I do agree, Jill. I think I started with the Age of Influence. I'm working on my next book, and I tell businesses you should reimagine social media and how you use it. Because if you just use it for the old promotion, it becomes pay to play. It becomes expensive. People distrust ads. And there's a much better, more valuable way to use it that's much more people-centric.
And even in all these direct-to-consumer brands now, so much of it is their story and who's behind it and what their kind of their point of view is. It's no longer just like, here's a moisturizer. It's like this moisturizer has a whole story behind it and there are people behind this. And so it's like, you're not just buying the moisturizer, you're buying the story and you're buying into these people and you're supporting this small business and, it's organic or whatever it is. And so the more of ourselves we can share, I feel like the more powerful we are. And that's where you can go compete with whatever, traditional moisturizer brand there is.
And that's what social media is perfect for, sharing your story, storytelling. I wouldn't want you to do that in a blog because a blog is for search intent for search engines, right? Feel free to do it on your web copy, your landing pages, but social media allows you to do that in an extreme way so that, people can find you and they can celebrate you and you can celebrate them as well.
Oh, Neal. Okay. You have I feel like you've solidified it for me in terms of the way that you've talked about it, especially where your blog comes in and where all of these other let's say, spokes of your business come into play and where social media fits in this kind of three-dimensional rendering of your business, and that you're no longer just a blogger, like you are a creator, you are a business owner, you're multifaceted.
Yes, and some of these digital channels you want to be more serious on, be more strategic on. Social, don't feel the need to have to like create a piece of content every day, right? But get on there every day to meet people and to engage with people, right? And it's very, it just frees up your soul, I think, and allows you to really enjoy social media for what it was meant for. And I think it's going to allow you to make more meaningful relationships that do have business value if you're strategic as to who you're developing those relationships with, that have some relationship to your business, but in an authentic way. So you don't have to post every day, but go out there and, comment every day and engage every day and make that part of your daily routine. Focus your content creation on your, blog, podcast, YouTube videos. These are long form, evergreen types of content that live forever in search engines. Whereas the short form content does not, right? The lifespan is very short. And that's where I think a lot of bloggers and entrepreneurs get really stuck on, is that hamster wheel of content, especially for social media, where all the time is spent. And it's like, what's the ROI of this? And there may not be that much ROI. I mean, you need to have some content, but focus on the content, invest in this content that lives on for a long more time. I mean, I was just looking at a post today, a blog post I wrote in 2009 that still ranks #1 and still brings in lots of traffic to my site. You're not going to create an Instagram reel today that's going to bring in traffic 10 years from now. First of all, Instagram doesn't bring in traffic to begin with, but then you have the fact that it's just one short form video after another. So really think strategically. And I'm glad we're recording this now, Jenny. I don't know when this is going to publish, but let's start 2022 off strong and strategic, right?
I love that. So it's almost as if you're creating these big kind of pieces, pillars, whether that be your blog, your podcast, YouTube, those kinds of things. But the sparkle, the kind of spice, feels like that is social media.
Yeah, that's one. I mean, there's a lot of different ways of looking at it. But yeah, that's one way of looking at it. It could be getting feedback. It can be looking for ideas. Like I said, making friends with your customers, with your fans. There's so many different ways, but just don't think of it as just a one-way promotional channel. That's what hopefully we all agree we can get out of. And yes, it can generate business for you. It can generate web traffic. But if you only think of it that way, it's going to become more and more pay to play over time, because that's what social media is, right? They're for-profit businesses. So you just got to get more and more strategic. And I really think this last year or two has been a real eye-opener with the emergence of TikTok and the popularity of this short form type of video content. If you're going to create any content, I'd really try to focus on that.
I love that. Neal, how can people reach out to you, learn more about you, find out about your books, your mastermind?
Well, I am the real Neal. So it's Neal and then Schaffer, SCHAFFER.com. My website, I'm Neal Schaffer everywhere on social media. I have my own podcast called Your Digital Marketing Coach for those podcast listeners. And my book, The Age of Influence, my most recent one, is available on Amazon, wherever you buy books. And I can't wait to run my first workshop using Easy Payments, hopefully sometime before the end of 2021. So make sure you sign up to my list anywhere on my website to get information about that when I publish it.
Oh, well, Neal, I have to say, I am so glad to reconnect with you. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
I hope you guys like this episode. For me, my biggest takeaway is, yes, you want to have those big pillars, like your blog or your podcast or your YouTube channel, where you're continually putting out value. But then you add the sparkle. You show up live, you do stuff that's raw, you connect with people, you figure out ways of working together or just being creative. And that's how you grow a business. It's no longer these specific rules of how stuff works. And I'm segueing into the fact that I am hosting this paid training on December 13th at noon. If you can't be there live, no problem. I'm going to send you a recording. But I think this is fitting with what Neal and I are talking about. This is a new way to build your business, to put yourself out there in front of your audience to see what they want, to test stuff, to not build until you are validated. You know people want this from you. It's a little bit like coming off of our perches, coming down and really interacting and really connecting. So please, to sign up, either email me at jillian@milotree.com to get a link, connect with me on Instagram at MiloTree, just DM me, or go to, here's the URL, workshop2.milotreecart.com. And I don't know, let's start 2022 with a whole different mindset of build fast, test, and put it out there. And I will see you, so I'll see some of you hopefully at the workshop, and I will see you here again next week.